KREM 2 News begins now.
Thank you for joining us on KREM 2 Plus. I'm Tim Pham. This is your KREM 2 News Week in Review. Join us as we take a closer look at some of the biggest stories in the Inland Northwest this past week.
When people go downtown, they shouldn't have to worry about getting robbed or assaulted. That sounds like a simple idea, but Spokane police say young people bringing weapons and violence into our city is challenging that presumption of safety. Spokane police and the city are responding to a recent uptick in teenage-related crime.
They are roaming the streets with pepper spray, with guns, with knives, with other weapons.
Earlier this week, police arrested a 14-year-old and two 16-year-olds for robbing and stabbing a man on the Monroe Street Bridge.
The types of juveniles we're dealing with are predators, and they're preying on other people.
Mayor Nadine Woodward, Spokane Police Chief Craig Meidel, and Downtown Police Precinct Captain Dave Singley say they hear the community's concerns.
They're sharing information about what they are seeing and experiencing, and their very clear expectations for increasing public interventions. Many of their concerns are about the juveniles roaming downtown, committing crime and disturbances.
Captain Singley says the department has been tracking an increase in juvenile-related violence since as early as March.
March 29th, April 5th, April 9th, just a couple days ago.
Police say at least a dozen people ranging in age from 14 to 24 have been arrested for assaults and robberies downtown.
Not all of them are directly related, but some of the ones associated with one incident are associated with some of the other incidents, even if they're not directly involved, although some of them are directly involved as well.
Despite these crime trends, Mayor Woodward says police are committed to protecting people downtown, including those who are unhoused.
They're protected like everybody else is protected. Our officers downtown, doubling the patrols, they are making an effort to reach out to people on the street, to connect them to services that meet their needs better than just a sidewalk does.
Captain Singley could not say if drugs were a factor in recent downtown crime. Chief Meidel says there are still some outstanding suspects in these recent crimes, but they will be arrested in due time. He also said that people can expect a larger police presence at upcoming summer events. In Spokane, Janelle Finch, KREM 2 News. Today I spoke to people living on downtown streets about teens and crime in the area. They all spoke to fear, insecurity, and nerves. But Jeremy Root, the man who claims he was stabbed on the Monroe Street Bridge last night, was fueled by other emotions.
Better luck next time.
Jeremy Root says he was the man who was stabbed and robbed on the Monroe Street Bridge Tuesday night.
I dealt with the 5 people armed with knives by getting stabbed by each of them individually.
Root was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. He walked away from the attack, but his scars are a reminder of the pain he felt.
I felt everyone going.
Spokane police say the stabbing was reported just after 8 p.m. Police arrested 2 16-year-olds and 1 14-year-old in connection to the crime.
Like, they're just maliciously doing dumb and getting caught up for it too.
Root says 5 people stabbed him. If that's the case, some of Root's attackers could still be out there. That possibility is what scares Jennifer Burton.
Out here, like, you never know, anything can happen, you know, with how the world is today, like, it's just scary.
Burton says she saw Root after the stabbing. She's thankful his injuries weren't worse.
If he would have gotten, you know, to the point where, like, they ended up killing him, because I don't know what I would have done, you know, it's just, I've lost a lot of people.
Root, Burton, and Shantae Cole are all a part of a group that live on downtown streets. Cole says even before this crime, the group has always had to watch their backs.
We can't sit, we can't breathe, we can't eat, we can't put a blanket out in the grass and enjoy a picnic like everybody else because we're deemed homeless. So that's a target.
Cole says the group's housing situation doesn't make them any less human or deserving of any violence.
We've been through life, tragedy, and trauma. We didn't ask for this. And if we're sleeping, what crimes are we committing? Why are we getting arrested out of sleep? Why are we going to jail? But yet these kids get to run the streets and own everything that they want.
3 teens were arrested for first-degree assault and robbery. Police say the investigation is ongoing and additional arrests and/or charges are possible.
The name of the miner killed has not been released, and operations here at the Galena mine have been suspended tonight. Authorities say the accident happened during routine operations Tuesday afternoon. The miner was struck by falling ground or an unexpected release of rock. The Galena mine is owned by America's Gold and Silver, and according to our news partners at the Shoshone News Press, the mine had not seen a fatality since 2010, and this accident marks the first mining-related death in the county since 2014. In a statement, America's Gold and Silver president and CEO Darren Blasutti said, "We are shocked and saddened by this tragic loss. Our thoughts and prayers are with the family, friends, and coworkers of our employee." He went on to say their primary focus is supporting those involved and working to fully understand the circumstances that led to this event and to prevent it from happening again in the future. Galena Mine says it's working closely with the Mine Health and Safety Administration to determine just exactly what went wrong here. Reporting in Wallace, Idaho tonight, Kyle Simchuk, KREM 2 News.
It's quiet here at the Galena mine. Only the sound of a miner lowering the flag to half-staff echoes in the air. Today, the mine is hushed by the overwhelming sorrow felt across the Silver Valley community. Last night, a miner died when falling ground unexpectedly struck them. Operations here are suspended while the Mine Safety and Health Administration investigate the accident.
It's just sad knowing that another one has been lost.
Sheila Hinz grew up in Wallace, and her family used to work in the mines. She says while this isn't the first mining accident in the Silver Valley, news of these tragedies never gets easier for the community.
A lot of people don't know how hard it is, and hard on those families, because every day they're saying, "I'll see you tomorrow," or "I'll see you in a few hours," and you never know.
As a lifelong resident of this mining town, Sheila says when an accident happens at the Galena or Lucky Friday mines, several questions cross her mind.
You wonder who it is, for one. You don't know if it's your family, friends, if you've known the person, if you've seen them, what they need from you, how to even react to the guys that are friends of theirs.
Although we have confirmed the young miner's name, we are not identifying him out of respect for the family. But we did speak with childhood friend Dylan Strong about the person he was.
The first word that comes to mind is just loyal. Once you establish that you were a friend of his or a family member or anything, like he would do anything to protect you or to comfort you.
I spoke with the general manager here this afternoon, and he says operations here could resume as early as tomorrow, as long as the investigation into what happened here is completed. Reporting in Wallace, Amanda Rowley, KREM 2 News.
Well, board members cited a number of issues. Some of the names and sponsors that are being recommended by the Public Facilities District and this soccer team do not align with the stadium naming criteria the board laid out earlier this year. First, a little background. Spokane Public Schools has partnered with the Public Facilities District, or PFD, which owns and operates venues like the Spokane Arena and the Podium. SPS provided funding for the new downtown sports stadium. The PFD provided the land, parking, and will manage the facility once it opens in a few months. Both sides need to agree on a stadium name and sponsor. The PFD, along with United Soccer League Spokane, have now made recommendations. They voted to call the facility the North Bank Stadium, presented by the Kalispel Tribe of Indians.
I would agree that North Bank wouldn't be my first choice.
Board members laid out a stadium naming criteria months ago. That document says the word Spokane should be included in the stadium name. It also says a sponsor cannot include industries associated with alcohol, tobacco, and gambling. The PFD is recommending Kalispel Field or Northern Quest Field.
I'm not comfortable with Northern Quest Field because Northern Quest, we know, is a casino here.
United Soccer League Spokane club owner Ryan Harnato says the team's first choice is Northern Quest Field, adding it will, quote, no doubt bring USL Spokane a higher valuation as it has a more direct link to the Kalispel's main economic engine, its resort asset. The district's naming criteria also states that if a Native American tribe is considered, the PFD must also consult with the Spokane and Colville tribes prior to even proposing the name. It appears they've only met with the Kalispel tribe.
And we understand as of tonight, the tribal consultation is still in process.
SPS and the PFD do agree that Joe Albies' legacy will live on at the new facility. There are plans to name a plaza and the adjacent road after him. There's also plans to place Albies' statue on site as well. Now, the stadium is on track to open this fall. It's unclear when board members will approve a name and sponsor.
This bedroom looks like it could belong to just about any teen, but it's no ordinary bedroom. It's the Hidden in Plain Sight exhibit.
Kids aren't just hiding things in their mattress anymore.
In it, there are more than 100 items, all of which could be signs of problems or risky behaviors such as teen substance use, human trafficking, mental health concerns, or unhealthy relationships.
I love when parents can go in and see what they know versus what they need to learn more about. So, to kind of test what's changed over time. Where you can see, are things still happening the same way they were happening when you were a kid, and then what's new?
That's Jennifer Dorsett, the facilitator of the Hidden in Plain Sight Tri-Cities program. She's traveled all over Washington state for the program, and this isn't her first trip to Spokane and Spokane County. She says one of the biggest concerns right now with kids and teens is vaping.
Vaping's not what it used to be even 6 years ago. When you look at the access and availability, vaping is kind of a cheaper way to use nicotine products, and nicotine's one of the most addictive drugs in the nation.
According to the most recent Washington State Healthy Youth Survey, in 2021, about 10% of surveyed 10th graders in Spokane County reported using vapor products in the last 30 days. That's down from the 27% of 10th graders surveyed back in 2018. Ultimately, Dorsett hopes what parents and caregivers get out of this event is confidence in talking to their kids.
Knowledge is power. And so it's just a great opportunity to come and learn.
Tonight, the Coeur d'Alene School District Board of Trustees voted to approve a bathroom policy. Their goal is to formally vote on it during the May meeting, and the public will have a chance to comment. The new law, signed by Governor Brad Little, takes effect July 1st. It says schools must ensure men's and women's restrooms are only being used by members of that biological sex. The law also allows students who encounter a member of the opposite sex in a public school bathroom to sue the district for $5,000 per incident. Schools are expected to make reasonable accommodations like single occupancy bathrooms for students unwilling to use a restroom designated for men or women only.
Kids should not be subject to having boys come into their bathrooms or locker rooms. I've heard numerous testimonies of people suffering that kind of abuse, and it's totally wrong. We should protect our children.
Now, there are some exceptions. The policy would not apply to people who need assistance using the restroom, like small children or disabled adults. Reporting in Coeur d'Alene, Kyle Simchuk, KREM 2 News.
Starting in September, post-fall schools will cut classes nearly every Friday. And while many families are eager for the schedule change, the district says it's more about hiring and keeping teachers. Post Falls is set to join about 80 other Idaho districts and charter schools with a 4-day week.
We have turned over a third of our certificated staff in the last 2 years. I started to wonder, is time worth more than money?
So the question was asked. 67% of parents wanted to know more about a Monday through Thursday schedule. A second survey showed 63% in favor.
Which blew my mind.
Next year, classes will be cut on Fridays, except if holidays fall on a Monday. The days will be longer, 45 minutes for high schools, 25 minutes for the youngest students, to meet state requirements for instruction hours. And not everyone,
I obviously was not for it,
is on board.
and I definitely voiced my concerns on the survey.
Haley Nystrom has a first grader and 2 twins preparing for kindergarten. She worries one less day of school will add up big in childcare costs and stress for families.
It's going to be super hard to try to find, something for just Fridays.
Families that are currently part of the district's before and after school GAP childcare program will get free care on Fridays.
Last year, they had an issue with not even having enough GAP teachers.
And that's part of why the district is trying out the 4-day model, to attract and keep teachers.
I think everybody knows that the vast majority of funding comes from the state, And our state funding formula is much different than Washington's, and so we would never be able to compete with those wages.
Nacarado says a shorter week may not be the answer, but it's a test worth taking.
And if it's a higher attendance rate and staff retention and test scores continue to go up, then, and parents are happy, then why would we change back? But we'll see.
The district will reevaluate and resurvey families in the spring. Shannon Mowdy, KREM 2 News.
It's possible that this broken car debris is one of the only markings left from the deadly shooting that happened here in the Silver Lake parking lot in Coeur d'Alene. That shooting happened last Friday, but even today, Coeur d'Alene police officers were on scene patrolling the area as the investigation continues. Coeur d'Alene police are reviewing surveillance video of the Silver Lake parking lot and doing interviews. CDA officers are keeping a close eye on where the crime occurred. One officer says a woman thanked him for his presence in the parking lot because she was nervous about shopping after the shooting. That shooting happened Friday when 74-year-old James Dean allegedly shot 30-year-old Shane Brown outside of Michael's. Witnesses told KREM 2 about the moment they heard shots ring out.
I heard what sounded like just a bunch of commotion and then super loud shots, like a gun or fireworks, and louder than I've ever heard before. And immediately I just turned back around and just ran towards my car and ducked in front of it because I didn't know what was going on at that point.
What was going on, according to CDA police, was Dean believed Brown was robbing his vehicle. Police say Dean confronted the suspected robber and pulled out a handgun. Then Brown got into another vehicle and drove toward Dean, putting him on the hood of the car. That's when Dean fired several shots at Brown. The 30-year-old died at the scene. Dean was taken to the hospital for treatment for his injuries. His condition is unknown at this time.
Quite sad, and I hope he's going to be okay.
Police say they are processing the vehicles involved. Today, we also stopped by the Kootenai County Prosecutor's Office to ask about next steps for the alleged shooter. He said that he has not received the case yet as the investigation is ongoing. We will continue to track the situation and bring you updates as we learn more. Until then, in Coeur d'Alene, Janelle Finch, KREM 2 News.
Springdale Hunters Road has a few new water features, as extraordinary rainfall has turned fields into lakes and culverts into rivers, prompting an emergency declaration across Stevens County. In Fire District 2, Chief Rick Anderson says Tuesday the water was dangerously close to damaging homes and businesses.
So with the colder temperatures overnight, the water levels did not come up. They went down just a little bit, but we're still really close to flood stage.
Even locals have turned into sightseers and hunters, like Jesse Lance's family.
Definitely. We came out, my mother-in-law's visiting, so we also came out to look around, but yeah, we've been kind of keeping an eye on it since the flood warnings are out.
While seasonal flooding isn't unusual for Lance and others in Hunters,
I would say probably every 4 years maybe it would get this bad.
This year's surge is a reminder of some of the worst years.
Oh, it's way lower than this typically year-round. This might be like the second worst since we've been here.
Stevens County's emergency declaration says some roads and fire stations were impassable Tuesday.
Heavy rain, and so the snow is basically gone on the low and mid-level slopes, but the high mountain areas just have abundance of snow, so when you have the water from the rain, it melts the snow and just compounds it, and then you have a rapid runoff.
Another part of the problem, you can see right behind me, the burn-scarred areas of the mountains allows all that runoff to flow directly into creeks and streams. For now, locals and emergency responders are watching the weather and the water, hoping the sun sticks around.
And most of the pre-planned work, if it gets worse, has been done.
Definitely. Got to keep an eye on it because there's still lots of snow on the mountain.
Shannon Mowdy.
So it could get a lot worse.
KREM 2 News.
Well, the Department of Health's new dashboard features statewide, regional, and county-level data on drug-related hospitalizations and deaths. The data currently ranges from 2016 to 2021.
In Spokane County, the dashboard shows 111 fatal overdoses were reported in 2016. By 2021, that total went up to 149. But hospitalizations saw a significant decrease. There were 635 in 2016. That went down to 460 in 2021.
It breaks my heart that this is where we're at in our world and our community, and that this is what we have to deal with.
Misty Challoner oversees treatment services at the Spokane Regional Health District. She says the new dashboard is a tool that will help guide local response to drug use here in Spokane.
If we can work together as a community, then we can definitely make an impact and at least hopefully start seeing a slower rate with those numbers and potentially a decrease.
The data is updated quarterly from sources including death certificates and hospital discharge information. Across the state, the data shows an upward trend of drug and opioid hospitalizations and deaths. SRHD attributes some of these totals to the COVID pandemic.
The opioid crisis has never stopped amid the COVID pandemic. It just continued to be exacerbated exponentially by the isolation that so many people felt and everything that our world was going through.
Now, the dashboard is one of many tools that SRHD uses to track overdoses in our community, but this site is available to the public with an easy to understand format for all. Amanda Rowley, KREM 2 News.
This 46 acres on the edge of Moses Lake,
basically shaving the ground,
may not look like much, but it'll soon be the site of some cutting-edge technology.
In the world, the largest factory in the world of its kind.
Group 14 Technologies chose Moses Lake as the site of its second silicon battery materials factory. Once this factory takes shape, about 400 construction workers will be on site. The facility itself will employ about 200 people when it begins production in 2024.
Everything from small consumer electronics like your earbuds, to cell phones, to EVs, and we even have people who are looking at doing airplanes out of these kinds of batteries.
Group 14's technology gives those batteries more capacity and faster charging, meaning the work in Moses Lake could revolutionize the future of electric vehicles.
We'll produce enough material to produce at least 200,000 EVs a year.
Group 14 is far from the only employer and new industry coming to Moses Lake, meaning the city, with all that expansion, is having to look at doing some growth of its own.
You know, we'll be talking to the state and federal resources about needs for highway infrastructure and water infrastructure, sewer infrastructure.
City Manager Allison Williams estimates with all the new industries coming to the area, job opportunities will grow to about 2,000 and population will tick up above the current 3% increase. Meaning this central Washington city may soon have even more change on the horizon.
They are seeing the synergy between what our area offers and the products that can be received and the ability to develop that product here.
This small place in Grant County is on the cutting edge of the kinds of technology that we all need.
Shannon Mowdy, KREM 2 News.
Because of the construction behind me, Riverside Avenue is closed between Walls and Stevens Streets. Howard is closed between Riverside Avenue and Sprague Avenue. This is the final phase of the project, but don't get too excited just yet. There are plenty of other projects just getting started around our area. The city says the sounds of jackhammers and excavators won't be heard for much longer on Riverside Avenue.
This project that we have behind us right now, this is only going to take a couple weeks to finish up.
But City Communications Manager Kirsten Davis says don't be fooled. Construction season is just getting started.
The payoff is there in the end, but it takes a while.
Luckily, most downtown commuters know the drill.
I've lived here for 23 years, so I'm pretty used to it because it's always happening in Spokane.
As the Riverside construction project looks to its final weeks, other projects around our city are just getting started or continuing. Work will be resuming on Thor Freya. Davis says drivers should expect several lane restrictions at various times over the next couple weeks.
Well, we're just kind of doing those punch list items and putting in that permanent striping as well that the weather didn't allow us to do at the end of last year.
North Monroe will also be reduced to one lane between Summit and Boone to lay down permanent lane markers. That work is set to start next week. Drivers share common frustrations when it comes to navigating construction.
Definitely can be a pain if you're trying to get somewhere, that's for sure.
The street was closed, so I just ended up having to park in this parking lot. And it just kind of sucks because I like parking on the street. It's a lot easier for me.
The city asked drivers to pay close attention to road signs, closures, and detours as construction continues. Weather permitting, the city hopes to wrap up Riverside Avenue, Thor Freya, and Monroe Street projects by the end of this month, which we all know is very important as we look ahead to events that take over our downtown, like Bloomsday, Hoop Fest, and parades. From downtown Spokane, Janelle Finch, KREM 2 News.
They're kind of our backbone. Without the volunteers, we'd all be floundering. Literally, we need volunteers.
I'm Ron Johnson. I'm a volunteer with the Salvation Army Food Bank. I volunteer 3 days a week. I come on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. I'm retired, so my time is my own, and I come in usually around 7 o'clock in the morning and stay till 5 in the afternoon. I'm primarily responsible to coordinate and organize the warehouse. We organize it here and then take it out to the pantry, it's like a little grocery store, and put it on the shelf for when the clients come through, they get to shop and pick up what they want. So that's my primary responsibility, plus whatever else Cheryl tells me to do.
I am Cheryl Thompson. I am the Community Services Program Manager for Salvation Army here in Spokane. I started here a year ago. Ron has been a blessing to me every single day.
There's produce here, produce in the middle.
He runs this warehouse. It's clean, it's organized. I can depend on him to no end. He's a blessing.
My Christian education tells me that I'm responsible to love others and to serve others. So that's what I like to do, and that's what I get to do when I'm here, is to serve others. And this campus has so many opportunities to volunteer, not just in the food bank, but through the shelters or through the thrift store. So there's many opportunities to help the community, and that's what keeps me going.
Ron is so dedicated. It amazes me, the time and the care he puts into everything he does here.
Cheryl is set up where we're out of the freezer, they're allowed to get 3 items. So they can pick whatever they want out of there. It's so rewarding to be able to know that you're serving the community, you're helping people that have a need, and you're providing something and providing a service for them, because maybe your life has been blessed and you've not had that hardship to put up with, but you never know that tomorrow it may happen to you.
I could use a whole bunch of Rons.
Thank you for joining us here on KREM 2 Plus for a look at some of the biggest news stories of the past week. For the most current news throughout the weekend, you can watch our latest newscast right here on KREM 2 Plus. Just look for them in the bottom navigation menu. I'm Tim Pham. Thanks for watching.